Hey there, you me and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I'm Mantis.
and today we are trying out. It may not work out that way, but the hopes is we are going to bring this to you in podcasty form for everybody who is fans of the channel, or maybe you're just finding us. If you don't want to look at my ugly face the whole time, you'll be able to actually turn off your device, but still listen to us if you're on cell phone, computer. I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend just shutting your computer off while it's playing.
No.
Um, So we're gonna try it. We're gonna see. It may just come out to look like a very weird fucking video, but damn it, I gotta stop cussing at the beginning. Algorithm doesn't like those
You
things.
can beep it. You can beep it.
I may have to. I don't like that because
You
we
beep
just
it.
try to be us, you know. So
Well,
today though,
community note, if there's community notes on here, there will be beeps in the first, what is it, 2 minutes is what they
it's
say?
2 to 3 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, if you hear
But
beeps in the first 2 minutes, it's not your phone or your computer. It's because YouTube is dumb and, they don't want us to curse on our videos. So you may hear some, audio cut out because, we're cursing or saying or anything else in there that could be construed as profanity. And, just are we 2 minutes in yet? Can
I don't know
curse
what the
now?
fuck he's talking about. So
Oh.
today, what we are talking about though is basically this spawned off of me. I saw this Collider article where some people were kind of attacking the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So we thought we'd get into it. We're basically calling this video nostalgic or lazy writing. Which is it? And this is going to apply to more just than Deadpool 3. God damn, that was loud.
That's at
Okay.
least 2 minutes. You're fine with the GD.
That's fine. So, guys, we're not going to roll into the normal intro because if it is in podcast form and it's only coming out in audio, I don't know how all this works yet. We're learning. You're not going to fucking see it anyways. So, let's just go ahead
Yes.
and get on into the discussion, Mantis. So, nostalgic or lazy writing. Now, did you have a chance to read the Collider article?
No, I did not have a chance to read the Clark article. Oh, I can't fucking talk apparently now.
You having
No,
a
but I did
stroke?
read some of your notes. I mean, I thought I may have had a stroke. There's times I don't. Does anyone else do this where you like? I only notice it because we can see ourselves in the video. But like, do you ever like look in the mirror and you're like, is my face sagging? Did I have a stroke last night? Like, I feel like maybe I'm just a hypochondriac. Which I mean, you know me, Cal. I tend to overreact to health things sometimes. But yeah, I'm just like, fuck, man, did I have a stroke? I may have. I don't know.
Stroke! 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 Stop mocking me!
You know what we didn't
No, I read your
overreact to
notes.
was this article. So, circling back around here. So, in the article, they basically were talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously being one of only two titles this year to gross over $1 billion. However, both titles that did gross over $1 billion were owned by Disney. You had the animated, I think Inside Out 2 actually is the highest grossing movie of the year, and then Deadpool and Wolverine
Yeah.
was number 2. But
That's
Deadpool
an animated,
Wolverine,
right?
yeah, Inside Out
Yeah.
2 is animated, but it is owned by Disney. And then Deadpool and Wolverine was obviously second, but also the highest grossing rated R, highest grossing Deadpool movie, all of this stuff, and the highest grossing MCU movie or Marvel movie that we've seen in a very long time. So we know, like, obviously, with what happened, like with Eternals, Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and then like the Marvels, like the MCU hadn't been doing well. And we all got the news that Deadpool was coming to the MCU. We then got the news that Wolverine was going to be in this as well. So we're like, great, we're bridging universes. We're gonna bring this all together, and people were super excited. And clearly, it showed in the box office numbers. However, some thought that it was the downfall of Deadpool because if you've watched the first two Deadpool movies, and hell, even in this one, he talks about a lot of the things that he makes fun of Marvel and the MCU for that end up happening in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie with the crossovers and bringing all these other characters in and things like that. So in this particular article, the guy had referenced, and I'm guessing the way it's written is it is his opinion. I'll have the article up there. Don't worry, guys. If it's in podcast form, you're just fucked. You're going to have to listen to me explain it the way it is.
Link it.
Yeah. But is that all of those elements were in there. It was all a bunch of like the movie didn't have a big point. It was all just about playing off of the nostalgia and having all these older characters in there. So it did all the things that it had that Deadpool had been complaining about in previous movies. Now, Mantis, just off of that, what are your thoughts on that? What is your take?
I feel like we discussed this topic a little bit. Like, was it 3 days ago? Because you mentioned that we may do a video on it or a podcast on it. And the Deadpool series in itself, even in the very first Deadpool movie, I won't say maybe the first thing, but like, I think of something that it did. I think of Ferris Bueller.
Bueller.
Breaking that fourth wall, right? Like that's one of the very first movies that I can remember that did that. And again, Deadpool is notorious for doing this. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And, movies like this, these type of things can work. Pointing out all of the flaws of Disney, even though it's a Disney property. I mean, it endears you to it, right? It knows what it's doing. It can point out these things. It can point out flaws in writing, in continuity, in terrible movies that were created, like Ryan Reynolds does, pointing out the Green Lantern movie. These type of things. And actually, it's kind of funny that I mentioned Ferris Bueller, because at the very end of Deadpool 1, there's an insecticrene. I have dyslexia. Sue me. At the very end of that film, there's an end credit scene where he's doing the Bueller thing. It's like he's in the robe and he's breaking the fourth wall. I mean, again, these movies, they know what they're doing.
Go.
They don't take themselves too seriously. I think it's fine. I mentioned to you previously about Spaceballs. Like, you're not watching Spaceballs, and I hope everyone that's listening to this has seen Spaceballs, but you're not watching Spaceballs for a serious dramatic movie. You know what you're getting into in this. You know what they're trying to do, what they're poking fun of, right? Even they break the fourth wall in that movie. John Candy breaks the fourth wall in that movie. And I think even Mel Brooks too, if I remember right. Happens a few times.
They break the whole damn thing because they keep talking about the movie that they're filming, right?
I know. Yeah.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Again, my viewpoint on this, it's a comedy in the form of an action hero movie, like superhero movie, like is what it is. It's fine. And as long as audiences understand that, you can do these types of things.
Yeah, so what this reference, though, was saying that Deadpool and Wolverine, and we had touched on this when we did the Deadpool and Wolverine review, that the movie didn't have a whole lot of point. It didn't have a whole lot to it, right? Like, if you think about it, the villain, Cassandra Nova, she's not on screen for that long, right? There's no real villain arc. There's no anything. Like, the villain arc is all of 30 seconds, right? It's a very quick, because she's not a big part of the movie. I mean, she's not on screen a lot. I do too, but
yeah,
what the article is referencing is that she isn't part of the movie for very long. Nobody, like, they're putting the team together, and the only reason why it worked is all the nostalgia, right? Is all the people that were in it: the Blade, Elektra, Gambit, which technically isn't nostalgia because he never had his own movie, but we all know that Channing Tatum wanted to play Gambit. He came out at a Comic-Con saying, "Hey, yes, he wanted dressed as Gambit. He wanted to play him," and all that.
Hold on. What did you say about this movie, though, particularly? You said it a few times. Like, the beginning of this movie, I mean, what happens in this movie has no bearing on anything.
Yes.
Like, Yeah, you know what I'm talking
from
about.
the beginning to the end of the movie, you end up in the same spot, right? Except the fact because you find out now. Let's assume that the baddie there, the villain guy. I'm trying to think of his name. I've only got to see it the one time because apparently fucking
Oh,
stores don't sell Blu-rays anymore. You gotta only order it
yeah.
online, as we were discussing. But the TVA guy, you know, let's assume he didn't have a time ripper, right? Because that was not sanctioned by the TVA, anyways, right? They said it usually takes several thousand years for the universe to decay once it loses its anchor being, right? So, other than the fact that he would have had the time ripper, again, take that out of the equation. From the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, we ended up in the same spot. A lot of people had thought that this was going to be the bridge because we were bringing in the TVA. This was going to be the bridge to bringing Deadpool over to the MCU, and that would branch together a lot of things. That didn't happen, right? We ended up in the same spot as basically where we started. However, Ryan Reynolds had said when they wrote this movie that this movie was supposed to be its own self-contained movie, right? It was supposed to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It was supposed to end. It wasn't supposed to be a big tie-in. Was when they did after the release, they did the press releases and stuff like that, saying that was their plan was it was going to be its own self-contained movie, and that's what it was.
Yeah, we recognize this as lightning in a bottle, as a once in a lifetime opportunity, and also to do a movie that isn't necessarily a commercial for another movie, that it is a complete experience when you come to see Deadpool and Wolverine. And
right? I think a lot of people were hoping it would be some big tie-in, and there was a lot of hopes and expectations. And I think that's maybe what the person writing the article was kind of like leading to, is that, you know, they thought it was going to be this bigger thing, and basically all it was fan service. And here's the thing. To a degree, yes, they're right. It was basically all fan service. Seeing Blade, nobody really gave a shit about Elektra. I mean, Jennifer Garner's still hot, you know, at her age.
Hot. Yeah, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. But even in Daredevil, first off, nobody gave a fuck about the Daredevil movie, but nobody also gave a fuck about Elektra in that movie.
No.
So
or
we didn't
her
care
movie.
about that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then even in the Elektra movie either. We'd never seen the Gambit. So really it was just Blade, and then of course Johnny Storm coming back in, which was awesome.
Which, funny, I'm gonna interject this here. The funny thing, they had just announced like yesterday or a few days ago that the Blade movie is not happening now.
Yeah, it's off of 2025.
What he says in Deadpool Wolverine is even funnier now. Of what was it? There's
only ever going to be one Blade.
But yeah,
and Deadpool looks at the screen, and you're like, yeah, that's probably the way we're looking. That's going to be accurate.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing was but bringing those characters in, seeing them, even Laura, you know, Laura Kinney, seeing X-23, you know, it was a lot of nostalgia. It was all, and then obviously Logan in the yellow and blue suit, especially when he put the mask on. It was fan service, right? And guess what? I don't fucking care. I'm here for it, right? That's exactly what I fucking wanted. I wanted the fan service. I wanted all that stuff. I didn't need a bigger tie-in to the MCU and all this other stuff, because realistically, if you are really, really thinking about it, Disney is not going to let too many of these movies go, right? They're not going to let rated R movies become their thing, because they are a Disney property. I mean, they you know, bank off of these Inside Out too, these animated movies, their theme parks and stuff like that, being tied up with, you know, a completely foul-mouthed character. Like, you're not going to see, you know, Deadpool joining the Avengers and things like that and still be foul-mouthed. It would ruin the character. And that's kind of what, you know, in this article he was saying, you know, it's ruining Deadpool coming to the MCU. Well, he didn't really come to the MCU. He had a brief stint where he talked to Happy Hogan about masturbating in the lobby of Stark Tower. But that was it, you know. And again, they don't even go in to explain how, like, he was jumping, because Cable's thing was just to go and jump through time, not like the TVA where he could jump into other universes. They didn't explain that at all. It didn't make any sense. And guess what? We didn't fucking care. It wasn't about that. It was about seeing Deadpool and seeing Wolverine in the same movie just fucking shit up. So
yeah, and the nostalgic part, again, you mentioned this, him being in the, you know, yellow and black with the mask,
blue,
tugging on those nostalgic, you know, strings that get people to come and watch the movie and enjoy it. I'm fine with it. I know what I'm getting into. It's all good. I will bring up two other examples here because we discussed these previously. And one of them is No Way Home. Is that Is that correct? The correct
That's the
Spider-Man
last.
movie,
Yes, that's the last Spider-Man that had all three Spider-Man.
which worked. I mean, not even just all the three Spider-Mans. It brought back Sam and it brought back Jamie Foxx. Dr. Ock, right? Like all these
William Dafoe
characters.
I used to have a Willem Dafoe living under my bed. Hey, you asleep yet? No. Just checking.
Yes. I mean, it was fantastic. Like, we knew what this was. And it's fine. Like, it worked. There are cases where it works. Like, like Deadpool, Wolverine. I feel like it worked there. A different type of movie, obviously, than No Way Home. But it worked in No Way Home, too. Like, we know what this is. It was fan service. That's exactly what that fucking movie was. And that's okay. It was great. It brought me back because we discussed this previously. Like, I enjoy the previous Spider-Man movies. 3 is kind of a wash there, but the first 2 were great. Like, I love both of those movies. And even, the Andrew Garfield one was okay. I'm not a huge fan of those.
I like those. I'm sorry. I did.
They're okay.
I liked them.
They're okay. Yeah. I not my favorite Spider-Man, and that's okay. I know other people do. And again, that's why it's so great for kind of everyone, that did. But there's also cases where it doesn't work, in my opinion. And I'm going to go into the Star Wars realm here with, the new Disney Star Wars, because I was talking to Cal previously about this, and I think he kind of agrees with me. Like, in my opinion, there's George Lucas Star Wars and there's Disney Star Wars. And the Disney Star Wars tried to use nostalgia to bring in viewers and kind of set this foundation for what they were going to build off of by bringing in Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, the R2D2, C3PO. You see all of these other characters from the previous films show up, and this is supposed to bringing the new and the old together, right? The problem about that was the writing ended up shitting all over the characters that everyone loves. You can't do that. You can't shit all over the nostalgia. I mean, to me, what they did with Luke's character, not really in the first remake there, or remake, the Force
7.
Awakens. Yeah, he really wasn't even in it until the end, obviously. But what they did to him is just unforgivable. But what even is worse is what they did to Luke, Leia, Han and Leia in there was not as bad, but it was bad. I mean, again, like I said, it's the writing that's the problem. It's not the fact that they decided to bring people in with nostalgia. It's what they did with it when they got it. That's the fucking problem.
Well, see, and I think that's where it comes to when we talk about whether something is nostalgic or it's just lazy writing, right? Like, with the Spider-Man, I'll start with that since you bring that up, right? Like, yeah, there was a lot of nostalgia seeing all these old characters that we loved, the old Spider-Man returning. But I think the movie was written very well, right? It worked. It wasn't just playing off the nostalgia. It was a very well written, like, plot, as far as, oh, hey, they're coming back. Here's this. It's all kind of tying in, and we're bringing all these different characters into this universe. I think, if I'm being honest, I think it did it better than like Deadpool and Wolverine, because Deadpool and Wolverine still deals with, like, Logan was in 2029 and he died. But Deadpool and Wolverine takes place in 2024, because when he goes, it's 2018 when he's talking to Happy Hogan there at about coming adventure. And then it says 6 years later, so that would be 2024, like we're in. But then Logan's already dead in that universe, because he's saying, oh, Logan died, and he goes to his grave. But that didn't happen for 5 more years. So I think. And again, I don't care about that, right? That's fine. I'm not worried about those stupid little details, because it was awesome to see him in the suit and to see him with Deadpool. But I will say, okay, yeah, I'll give it to you that some of the writing, you took some liberties there and you just made it work, right? So it wasn't quite as good as the Spider-Man movies as far as the overall story and the writing, right? Because you did miss some pretty big plot points, but we don't fucking care, right? It was that's not what that movie was about.
To your point, that's a very minor detail, but if you don't have the Logan aspect, you don't get the whole beginning opening scene with him with the skeleton and all that. Like that whole thing can't happen, and that's what's so fucking funny, right? That whole opening, which again, I bitched about it because there were parts of it that I was kind of against, but then like rewatching it, it was pretty good. So it's like that whole thing can't happen.
So sometimes it works for that movie. Now, when you move into like what he's meant to talk about, like with Star Wars, that's where I feel like you're using nostalgia to appease some of the older Star Wars fans, but you have your lazy writing, right? You're banking
Yes.
on that on those characters saving your shit movie because you can't write worth a damn. And then you want to strike and want to raise. Like fuck you. Like you suck at writing Star Wars movies. You only made it worse, and then you bring back these memorable fucking nostalgic characters, and you take those nostalgia strings instead of tugging on them, you just fucking cut them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Even
and then,
even
again,
Harrison Ford hates the character now.
he does. He's been one to be killed off forever. I mean,
Mark
he
Hamill
said that
hates Luke now. Like he fucking hates the character now. Like what they did to him and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's documented. I mean, there's been several interviews. I know I'm speaking or preaching to the choir here, but it's like there's many of times where he said he hated what Rian Johnson or Ryan, whatever the fuck his name is, did to that character. Like the writing of Luke.
Rian Seacrest.
Yeah.
Despite how somber the subject matter was.
Sure.
I mean, it says right in the script, forget the past, kill it if you have to. And you're doing a pretty good job.
I'm trying.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's wild, and then you get into the Disney just fucked that whole thing up. It's the fucking fuel, and then the cutting the thing in half with hyperspace. Like it's so wild. And my point about all this is trying, because we talked about this with the whole parsec argument, right? And
The great argument of our day.
Yeah, like it's a joke. That's the whole point of it. Like you don't explain it. It's a running joke. It's like, again, I was telling Cal about, there's a scene in A New Hope where C-3PO and R2-D2 are trying to hide. They're hiding in like a closet. I don't know it's some like area that's off. It's got a door that slides, and they're hiding in there. And when the stormtroopers come into that room, one of them hits their head on the ceiling, right? Like,
Take over.
they need to lean into that shit. Like in the next in the new Disney, like they should have had a scene where one of the stormtroopers are walking down the hallway with Kylo Ren, and like one of them knocks their head on the ceiling. It'd have been fucking great. Yeah, or trip. Yeah, that shit. Like that. Oh god, it would have been so great. But they don't. They don't lean into those things. Like the writing is just, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, again, as someone who's a fan of George Lucas Star Wars, and then see what these writers do to our characters that we love, that we grew up watching, that we grew up loving. And it's why in certain cases it works, and in certain cases it doesn't. The parody aspect of it is great. Deadpool's notorious for leaning into those jokes and those pointing out the shit that doesn't make sense, right? And that's why it's funny, because it's a joke. It's funny, and they don't explain it. But when you try to use nostalgia in those type of things in the wrong way, it's so bad. It's cringe as fuck.
The thing is, if you're basing the entire movie off of the nostalgia aspect and expecting that to save everything, that's where I think the lazy writing comes. Like you're basically just hoping that people are going to come see it because these characters are in it. That's where you're going to fail, and this is where I disagree with the article. Like, I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine, they didn't hit that, right? It wasn't that, like now that he's joined the MCU, because again, we still don't know. Like Ryan Reynolds has even said that he was like, they said, so Deadpool 4, and he's like, oh, good Lord, no. He's like, my family would divorce me, and all this. Now, again, he's joking, and there may be, there may not be, but again, I don't imagine, even though yeah, it did make over $1 billion, Disney's going to let them just continue to pump out these types of movies. I don't think we're going to see a Deadpool in the MCU just because he would not be Deadpool at that point. You're not going to have a rated R Avengers movie. You're not going to have a rated R Captain America movie. It works with Deadpool and Wolverine, because even when we first saw Wolverine, we all wanted the rated R one because we want to see if you got metal claws. And this always got me with the Ninja Turtles from the early 90s in the cartoon. The motherfucker has a sword, but nobody gets cut or stabbed. Like, why do you have swords then? Right? If you got a guy with metal fucking claws, what we want to see is those claws either hacking off limbs or going into fucking body parts and skulls and things like that, like we saw in Logan, and then we got to see in Deadpool and Wolverine. So that's why a rated R Logan works. That's why rated R Deadpool works, but you're not going to see that in a bigger, like, we're not going to have Secret Wars and Deadpool's going to be in there talking about cocaine and butt stuff and killing people and cussing and all this other stuff, which technically you can't talk about cocaine because that's what Feige said was off limits.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
Yeah. He mentioned that several times,
yes.
actually. So, yeah.
So, like, you know, it's I don't think, like, I know that in the article they said that, you know, it was like, oh, that, you know, it ruined Deadpool, him joining the MCU. Again, he didn't really join the MCU.
And from what we've talked about previously, because I think we did a video on this about what currently is in works with the reboot of X-Men, Wolverine is not in it. Wolverine is not, and Hugh Jackman is not. Like, I don't believe, like you said, like, they're not gonna, I just can't see them putting Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU. There's no way. There's no way they can do it on multiple fronts. Again, but I think the main thing that you brought up, even the fact that we've got some, like, you know, behind the scenes stuff that said that, you know, they're not putting Wolverine in the reboot, and that's great. But I think the bigger point is what you said, is they're not going to allow the type of comedy and jokes and writing from Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU. It's not the same thing. They did the little jokes bringing Johnny Storm in there. That's funny. Bringing Blade. Blade was, I mean, that's rated R, isn't it? Like, Blade's rated R. I mean, so that makes sense, right? But they're not, there's no way they're going to bring Deadpool into the greater MCU. If they do, it's going to be some small part, and he's not going to be using the same language and stuff in there. And it, you know,
I can see them trying to do another Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Like, just those two. Could see that 100%. Them letting that go and keep it fun. But I think a lot of people said, oh, he's in the MCU now. Well, just because you saw the TVA, and the TVA is tied to Loki and all that. And we've seen him in other, you know, MCU properties. So I think that's where people got. But again, he's still off in his own universe. He's not in the sacred timeline. They're doing their own thing. So I don't particularly think we're going to end up getting another Deadpool and Wolverine-ish movie, because, you know, even if they write a good script and all that, you're talking another 2 to 3, maybe 4 years before that movie come out. Hugh Jackman's going to be almost 60. At some point, I think he's going to be, you know what, like, okay, we're done. And again, it's going to be its own separate thing outside the MCU. That's my final take on it. I don't think them bringing these characters in and the nostalgia aspect ruined the movie. I love the movie Deadpool and Wolverine. If you have not seen it, we just spoiled a bunch of shit for you. But go check it out so you know what the fuck we're talking about. But Deadpool and Wolverine was awesome. I don't care that it was nothing but fan service. I'm here for it. The whole idea behind that term fan services means that was all what the fans wanted, right? I don't know why movie studios have gone away from that. Like, we don't want to do something that's fan service. Oh, you mean you don't want to do something the fans love?
Because I would say, like, you know, but we really have to think of what the audience expects and what they want. And he says, no, we have to do the opposite. We have to give them something they don't expect that we want.
Yeah, why would we want to do that? Let's put out something that has our own ideologies in there. Like, what?
Right.
No, like, the fans wanted this.
Doing it. Yeah, there is a limit to it. Again, and here's my kind of thing here, where, because it gets into the lazy writing aspect of it. Like, you can do that, but you can't do it all the time. Like, there's only so much. Otherwise, you do start to go into this just seems lazy as fuck, right? Like it gets into that territory, which again, I don't think Deadpool Wolverine got anywhere close to.
Yeah, no. But if they do another one and they keep doing that kind of shit, it'll be old.
Yes, yeah. The joke is run its course. We get it. It means why you can't just keep retelling jokes, because people will know that. And
I mean, that's why a lot of people hate comedy sequels, right? Because they're like, it's just rehashing the same shit. You can't do it. It doesn't matter. Almost.
I
what you do,
agree.
you just can't
I
do
agree
it.
with that. I really agree with no comedy sequels. I mean, now that I think about it, it's like Dumb and Dumber was just a fucking travesty. It's just.
I didn't particularly care for Anchorman 2, Super
neither.
Troopers 2. Like every part 2
Me
of like,
neither.
those series,
Yeah.
I didn't particularly care for them. Let us know down in the comments. Are we off base? Did you really like those as well? I mean, do you agree with this person that wrote this article? Like, did it ruin Deadpool bringing him into which again, he's not in the MCU, so I don't know what the fuck this person's talking about. But do you agree even with all the fan service that just is ruining Deadpool, or did you absolutely love the movie? Let us know. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on it. And do you think it would ruin Deadpool if they brought him into the MCU? Because I think it will. Like, he won't be Deadpool if he did come into the MCU. Like, full on.
It'll be a censored version that kind of strips the essence of what Deadpool is, right?
100%. Plus, it's going to be weird in the MCU if he's breaking the fourth wall into movies and stuff and calling shit out. That's just going to be weird in an Avengers movie. Like it's not going to work. But let us know how you feel about it. And then, Mantis, do you want to do the ending if this does go into podcast form? Do you want to do the ending here?
Yeah, because we can't really, click and I'm showing you where to click the like button and all this fun stuff because there is no video on it. But, we do appreciate everyone that listens. This is kind of our first foray into the podcasting realm. If you do liked it or if you do enjoy this, like and subscribe to You, Me, and DC. We've got all types of content in the comic book, movie, MCU, DCEU. Well, really not much DCEU anymore, but definitely DCU. We enjoy everyone's comments, so make sure you do that. We try to look at everyone. We may not respond to everyone, but we do. If we're not responding, it's most likely because it was I won't say a negative comment, but
Just
one
didn't know
that
how to
we just don't
respond
see
to
much
it.
conversation. I mean, we just don't see any, insults. I don't know how we have a conversation with that. So we do try to respond to comments. We want to get this community kind of engaged. We kind of feel like, maybe we need some people to engage with us on here. So tell us what you think. We know we're not just spouting this shit off at the end here. Like, make sure you comment and subscribe. Like, no, we really want you to comment. We're trying to have conversations as much as we like seeing ourselves talk and hearing ourselves talk, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't really enjoy it too much, but we want to talk with you, the listener. So make sure you leave comments down below. We definitely take a lot of those suggestions to heart, and we don't mind doing future episodes of this based off of what you guys want to talk about.
Yes, if you find us more digestible in podcast form, and if we are able to bring this out in podcast form, which I'm going to do my damnedest, is this a better format? Do you like it where you can just have your phone off and be doing, chores around the house and you listen to us talk about
That's what I do.
Comic books?
Yeah.
So, that's what I do on things. So let us know if this is if this is an easier way to digest us. Yes, that meant that dirty. And we can keep it up, and because we are going to dial back how many videos we're putting out a week, so we aren't overwhelming you with content.
Sorry,
had to get that in. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it for us on this potentially first episode of the You, Me, and DC podcast. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.